Well, well, well. The third and final haunted house of 2014 is down, done, and completed. Now, I do still have Stripped Identity coming for you tomorrow. That will be possibly a tiebreaker. Well, not really. Possibly a tiebreaker in regards to what will be the best of 2014. Not really, but I say that to build dramatic tension. I already know, and I knew last week even. And anyone who's watched the videos, I'm sure you guys would know too. But let's humor ourselves, shall we? The House of Horrors and Haunted Catacombs, Buffalo, New York. Well, what can I say? They might as well just leave it as House of Horrors. Because what I saw in there was fucking horrible. Alright? I'm not going to get angry. I'm trying to keep it professional as I can. Swearing included. But, let's talk about this. I haven't been there in 2 years, alright? 2 years ought to be enough time to forget the way things have looked, or at least, not have as good a memory of it, and have them rearrange things, change things up, even add in brand new houses. Right? It's enough time to create a new experience, to bring something new to the table. Now, the Haunted Catacombs is, of course, in competition with Frightworld and Final Fear. So naturally, you would assume, just like Final Fear did, they would step up their game, because everyone knows that Frightworld is the one to beat, well, as far as the casual pedestrian opinion goes. Frightworld is Buffalo's #1, this, that, and everything else. I disagree. But, that aside, if you want to succeed as a haunt in Buffalo, you really got to set yourself apart. Got to do what Final Fear did. How do you do that? Keep things different. Keep things interesting. New houses. And if you can't think of a new house, a new design. Something that the people haven't experienced before. Try new things. Different layout even. Different monster placement. Things like that can make a world of difference. Unfortunately, Haunted Catacombs, House of Horrors, we'll call it that interchangeably throughout the video, unfortunately, they seem to fail to grasp that concept, you see. I haven't been in 2 years. And this year they featured 6 haunted houses. We had Killer's Theater, Dragged into the Grave, the Walking Undead Prison Break, and the Walking Undead Escape from Woodbury, Hell House, and the all-new Zombie Apocalypse Paintball. Not a bad offering. I did have to admit I laughed when I heard Walking Undead. It's the same font and everything. They're dodging copyright like a bullet. It's crazy. But I figured, hey, Hell House, okay, that's a returning one. That's a classic. That's one that's been there the longest. I understand. It's their baby. Killer's Theater, alright. Fine. That was really cool. That had all the movie bad guys in it in their own settings. What more could you ask for? Dragged into the Grave, I figure, hey, that's got to be something interesting, something unique. And Zombie Apocalypse Paintball, man, that sounds cash. Let's talk about it. Alright? Let's break it down and find out why the House of Horrors was pretty much just horrible. I'm not going to make any qualms about it. I'm not going to wait till the end of the video and say, but, this is my ticket here. This ticket cost me $23. I had a $3 off coupon. I paid the $26 to get the zombie paintball thing. or whatever it was. Let's start at the beginning. First house I did was Killer's Theater. Now, keep in mind, this is a very good idea, I think. I mean, everyone's scared of Freddy, Jason, Michael, Pinhead, Leatherface. They're scary. There's a reason that these horror villains have turned into a franchise, and it's because for many years, these evil creatures have terrified us all. Well, that's more elegant, but you get the idea. They're iconic. And people like to be able to see that. Killer's Theater is one section after another where you enter the realm of these said killers. Friday the 13th takes you to Camp Crystal Lake. You meet Jason a few times. Halloween, you're in the house, Michael's house. Tangle with him. Nightmare on Elm Street, that puts you first in Johnny Depp's character's room, where you have to go through the bloody mattress where he was sucked into Freddy's world. Much like the claustrophobia ending to Phobias. Have to sift your way through there, and on the other end you come out in Freddy's boiler room, and Freddy has complete control of your mind. He's everywhere. It's cool. After that, you make your way into a very unfortunately brief section, giving Hellraiser some love. Now granted, only the first 2 Hellraiser movies were any good, but the concept was wonderful regardless. After that, you proceed into Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Leatherface chases you out as you go through his slaughterhouse. Not a bad setup. It's cool because you come face to face with these characters you've only seen on the screen. In their worlds. They have the power. That's neat. But there's a problem here. I haven't been to Haunted Catacombs in 2 years. In those 2 years, nothing changed. Actor placement, props, everything, locations, order, layout of each and every house that wasn't 100%, some new thing, was the exact same down to the letter. Positions of actors, layouts, it was just everything. And yet I still recalled where all these scares came from, and I knew it was obvious, like, oh, look, there's something there. It was not impressive. The first time it was neat. But I'm thinking, if you're going to keep Killer's Theater, expand it, add more bad guys in there, or, make the respective sections bigger, do something for it. Show me why I should care about these bad motherfuckers. There was no change. Carbon copy. It was very disappointing. Now, I went with a group from my martial arts, where I learned martial arts. And my master and several other people. And a good handful of these people had gone through it with me 2 years ago. They seemed to not have any memory or recollection of that because they seemed to think this was some brand new, amazing experience. I thought it was incredible. I'm going through this, I'm like, guys, this is the exact same thing. Now, granted, the detail and use of music and sound effects was nice. The characters looked good, but it was the same thing. It was redundant. If I'm paying money to go get scared and have this experience, I want something different. Frightworld at least changed up their layouts and kept it a little interesting. This was not that. It was very disappointing to see the same thing over and over again. Now, one thing that they did end up using to attempt to instill fear that wasn't necessarily the actors or the tension was the use of the compressed air. Everyone knows that. Psh! Yeah, well, they overused that to the point where it was fucking annoying. They needed to calm down on that. It was ridiculous. That wasn't scary. It didn't even startle you anymore. It just made you pissed. But whatever. Killer's Theater does present a good time. And if this is your first time going to the Catacombs, then you can disregard most of what I'm saying. This next house we're going to talk about, though, you should heed what I'm saying. But if you've been once in the past few years, you're not missing anything if you don't come. If you've been through this, you already know what I'm talking about. And if not, I mean, go ahead. You'll enjoy it because it's a new experience, because it's completely new. Now, a good haunt manages to be good year after year by changing itself up, offering a little variation on what you're going to experience. This did not do that in the slightest. After that, we went into one that sounded interesting and promising, had a very cool exterior, called Dragged into the Grave. Now, Dragged into the Grave was a house that had been brought back from sometime 3 years ago. The Catacombs did a little something called the 6 Gates of Hell. It was a nice name for basically 6 houses. Whatever. Dragged into the Grave was one of them. They brought it back. I didn't get a chance to go to the 6 Gates of Hell, and, well, maybe that's a good thing. Dragged into the Grave, I will not mince words. I will not dick around and waste any time. Dragged into the Grave earns the highly esteemed award of being the worst fucking house of 2014. It's bad. Alright? Now, darkness is an effective tool that is used in these houses to create suspense, tension, paranoia, and fear. Because everyone's afraid of the darkness because you don't know what hides there. Dragged into the Grave thought this would be a fantastic idea to embody this concept. What Dragged into the Grave was basically one long, narrow corridor that meandered and wound around and take turns in here that was just pitch black. You had to feel your way through. There were maybe 2 actors in there. And all they did was light up, a light they had and yell at you. They didn't scare you at attention. They didn't move. It was a very short house. It lasted about 2 minutes. And the whole darkness thing gets old very quick. Trying to find your way around, you end up going the wrong way towards where one of the actors is hiding. They redirect you, you get fucked around. It breaks the experience. And now I understand the idea is supposed to be, you've been buried alive and now you're underground trying to get out or something. But Frightworld did this better with Death Trap. I was never a fan of Death Trap, but it had an interesting concept of the same nature. You're underground in the crypts of the dead, and now you're trying to find your way out. It was neat. But this just said, okay, you're underground, pitch black. There was no detail, nothing. Even the monsters, the actors, they just had a little blood splashed on them. They didn't look like they belonged at all. It was lame, and it was not scary, not an immersive experience. I didn't feel anything. I wasn't scared. There was no detail. It was just wood walls and darkness. What fun is that? There was no setting to get into. It was just a lack of anything good. It was lame. I could understand maybe the darkness would make you paranoid, but maybe if the whole house wasn't the same fucking thing and actually gave you some scenarios to put yourself into and the darkness connected them, that would have been interesting. But when it was just one long hallway where it's all dark and that was it, that's a poor excuse for a house. Lame. Nothing good redeeming about it. Sucked. Can't say anything about it. After that, we did the Copyright Dodger house. The Walking Undead. Now this was a 2-part house. Prison Break and Escape from Woodbury. Now I don't watch The Walking Dead. I quite frankly just think it sucks. That's my opinion. I love zombies, don't get me wrong. But I don't like Walking Dead. I did think it was funny. I laughed out loud when I saw they announced their house and they called it The Walking Undead. That was a very clever dodge of copyright there. Very well done. But they knew. They knew that if they made a house themed around the Walking Dead, basically, and put zombies in it, people are gonna want to see this shit. I waited a long time for it. There was a ridiculous line. Was it worth it? No, it was not. The zombies hid in obvious places. You could see them getting ready to scare you. All these places, I complained about Frightworld doing this a bit. Final Fear was completely the opposite, but in all these places you can clearly see where the actors are going to come from. And it terribly ruins the experience when you know, okay, this guy's so going to pop out of here, and that happens. It kills it. They don't make enough of an effort to disguise where these guys are coming from. The zombies were half-hearted. The setting was kind of crummy. Okay, it started with Prison Break. A haunted prison full of zombies, that's a good idea. You ever play The Suffering? It's scary. But there wasn't, of course, the props and the setting. This was finally something different. But yet, it failed to leave an impression. It failed to make me feel truly that I was in this setting, unlike many other houses. Like I go back to the roadside slaughterhouse, the beginning of it at Final Fear, how you got crouched down in the caged area and you got psychos beating on this thing and dragging blades along it and it's sparking up. I constantly think back to that and what an immersive experience that was and what that created and how you felt like you were in this place. Prison Break did not achieve that. And this was something I had never seen before, so it's not like I had been predicting on these things like Killer's Theater. Here and there it had its good moments where you felt like you were in some prison, perhaps, in the narrow hallways, but for the most part, it was just not good. Now, something that Catacombs is very guilty of is the rectangular hallway design. Like this, narrow, here you go, turn, here you go, turn, there you go. There was no variation, you just 1, 2, 1, 2. There was no variation in rooms, and this whole hallway thing felt like you were just going for a walk through someone's house. It got repetitive. Almost every house, I'm pretty sure all of them did, had the very rectangular. You come to a turn, make a turn, turn again, turn a thing. It's like the SCP-087-B is basically like that. Now I understand they use that with the sharp 90-degree turns as an opportunity for the actors to scare you in there, but it can only work so many times. After his Prison Break, we go on to Escape from Woodbury. This is where the bullshit starts, right? Now, instead of going right into it and having some transition, because they sold these as two separate houses, saying you have Prison Break and Escape from Woodbury, 2 chapters in this epic story. Instead of having some transition, by a sign saying, you are now entering Woodbury or something like that, they made an awful choice by having you actually exit the house. You exit, and you just make a little turn again, you just sort of curve along the outside. You can see you're clearly in the lobby. You see all the people, hear all the people, the monsters walking around, everything. You are out of the haunt. You are out of the house. You can see everything else. You just curve, and they'll go back right into the Woodbury house. There was no sexy transition. You were broken from the action for about 5-10 seconds to be put back into it. It was a terrible break. You were like, it wasn't like they were trying to keep you in there. You just saw, it was clearly like, yeah, fuck, I'm in the lobby. If you didn't know better, you'd think you were done. And then they break that immersion and then expect you to just go right back into it for Escape from Woodbury. Now, both of these houses replaced a larger one called Body Harvesters. Now, Dragged into the Grave was an original from where it came from. It didn't replace anything. But this one replaced Body Harvesters. Body Harvesters was the gory house. It was all about the gore, the body parts, the mess, and the smell of the decaying flesh and the crazy motherfuckers who were there. And I liked it. I thought it was good. 2 years ago when I went, I enjoyed everything. I went through it twice, actually, and the second time I enjoyed it more. I went through almost everything twice except for the Hell House. And so I had come to very much enjoy Keeler's Theater, even when I went through it a second time, as well as Body Harvesters. And I enjoyed it knowing that, that even though they didn't change it up because it was a week apart the times that I went. But this time, I was thinking, oh man, they replaced Body Harvesters. I like that one. Whatever. But Escape from Woodbury. Now I'm imagining this is supposed to be some sort of town or village, right? Well, fuck you, it's not. Body Harvesters didn't go anywhere. Body Harvesters is fucking Escape from Woodbury, just under a different name. There was some slightly different sets and props and layouts to make it seem like it was a part of the Walking Undead, as we know. But it still had the concept of, different cuts of animal and human meat hanging from the ceiling, and limbs and intestines and heads, and smell of formaldehyde and decaying flesh and plastic. Still kept the same linear hallway design. The rooms you could tell were the same. They didn't do any reconstructing. Instead of crazy psychos in there, you had zombies. It was the same thing. I was going through it and I'm like, wait, I recognize this layout. It was familiar to me. Even the screens, there were cool effects of the screens where, you'd be walking along and you'd see a video. Like, it happened during it happens during Hell House. It happens also during the Escape from Woodbury, but really Body Harvesters, where you see like a long tube and you see someone sliding down and there's a fan blade at the end and they go into it and they get splat everywhere and red water splatters out all over you like blood. It's a neat effect. But they kept it in there. It was clearly still Body Harvesters. They didn't change up the layout at all. I recognize the hallway and everything. We're talking 2 years of difference. Unsatisfying, especially for the long wait and how much they hyped it up. They were Walking Undead, best thing. One house was completely new and it was lame. The other one was just Body Harvesters with a little kick around. Not even that much to call it a shift up of the layout. After that, we waited for not as long for the final one. I did one more. I bought the extra experience with the Zombie Apocalypse Paintball. We'll talk about that. Hell House is what Grindhouse is to Frightworld. It's their baby. The one they've had for the longest. The one that they pour the most work into. Now, I have mixed feelings here. I enjoyed Hell House the first time I did it. And I was able to respect it still this time, but there was no difference. It was all the same. The same effects, the same scares, the same everything. Same rooms, same actors. The basis for Hell House was the house that was possessed. It was infested with demons and all sorts of evil. That's the idea. And there are some neat effects here and there. You have the guy, one of my favorites, where it's a guy sitting on a chair wearing a whole chair costume. So you think it's just a chair because you're in a living room. The guy gets up and scares you. It's one of my favorites. Just clever. But, once again, you have, at the beginning, you have a bust statue and a projection of a face onto it talking to you that works really well. Again, with the screens and water. At one point, it just looks like a normal window, and then a tree branch crashes through it, and the curtains fly up, and there's wind blowing on you, and they got water just rain and pelting you in, and it works really well to make you feel like you're in that setting. It's neat how they immerse you in it. You have the sparking lights on the ceilings and some of the dark hallways. It does have some of the more innovative scares. Like the chair. Or there's one part where you trigger and a guy bungee jumps out of the upper ceiling at you. It's pretty cool. Another memorable one. This house was the longest, most detailed of all of them. Where you're going through near the end, there's, heads hanging from the ceiling, and little, you feel plastic beads falling on you. As the guy who I went through there with, he identified it correctly. It was meant to be like maggots. They were trying to make it seem like maggots were raining on you. I just thought it was plastic. I didn't know, but then yeah, I looked at it. It was like little tiny looking plastic maggots. It's a neat effect because it's textile. The textile and effects actually assault your senses. Were cool. But the actors ended up just screaming a lot, not really working the timing and terror. More of the fucking pressurized air. There was a very creepy actor. It was a large female, and she was just very, very tall. Not fat, tall isn't large. And she was in one of the hallways, and she was like all in black, and she looked like she glided over to you when she was coming at you. It looked like some like a Grim Reaper. It was creepy. That was new. One thing, new thing. But for majority, and like all the photos you see advertised, all these crazy looking demons and shit they're supposed to be in that house, forget it. No Satan, none of that shit. It's not in there. The dark priests, fuck it, no. So, but overall, still the best house, but again, they didn't change anything. It's disappointing. One thing I forgot to mention about the zombie apocalypse thing. There was one thing added to the very end of this Escape from Woodbury thing. And it was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. It was a gigantic animatronic hand. You know, it comes out and it tries to grab you, but you can clearly see it before it even fires up, and it's right before the exit. And it totally doesn't fit with fucking anything you've seen or experienced thus far, and it's funnier than anything because it's so stupid and doesn't belong. It was ridiculous. Again, immersion breaking. After that, I waited for an hour. All my friends had gone because they didn't buy the additional zombie paintball ticket that I did. But I knew to give everything a fair review, I had to go and do all the haunts, including the zombie apocalypse paintball. I waited by myself for an hour. Expected something worthwhile. Now this house replaced one that was called Wicked Freakshow 3D, which was also fairly lame. It was very bright, you could see where all the scares were coming from, but the 3D effects were neat. If you want to see how to do a 3D house, go check out Final Fear with Chaos. That's how you do a 3D house. This replaced the little experiment of Wicked Freakshow, which was like a circus kind of weird carnival thing. It was lame. That lasted 2 or 3 years. This was different. Same layout. Let's establish that right now. Same layout as your little Wicked Freak Show thing. Difference was you got pump action paintball shotguns, and you would walk through, and you have one creepy room, and then you'd go through and you'd be in a shooting gallery where it'd be a room full of different props and shit and zombies. Now there were 2 zombies in there. And look, I know a zombie doesn't show much emotion, they kind of shamble around. But these fucking zombies looked like and they were human actors wearing lots of padding. But these guys looked like, they just couldn't fucking be bothered. They looked so bored, so done, and, it wasn't even fun. The guns, it was cool to shoot them, but it wasn't, they hardly reacted. You didn't really feel like you were in danger because they were in a shooting gallery of sorts. Through some they couldn't even get over to get you. It wasn't cool and it wasn't fun. And there was 2 sets of this shooting gallery. You go do that, go through a hallway, go through another room, another gallery, same fucking actors, same costumes. You get 15 shots at them. That's it. After that, fuck you. And they were talking about how cool this thing's gonna be. The guns don't make a sound. The zombies hardly reacted. The house wasn't scary. There was no detail on the zombies. The zombies didn't react. They looked so bored. It was lame. Not worth the $5. It sucked. There was no tension, no fun. It was lame. No scare factor, no entertainment factor. It was just felt like shooting fish in a barrel. There was nothing to it. So for the houses that were there that I had gone through, Hell House and Killer's Theater in the past, as well as technically Escape from Woodbury, which was Body Harvesters, no change in setup. Prison Break was boring. Dragged into the Grave was pitiful. And the Zombie Apocalypse Paintball was a novel idea, but just terribly executed. Now, if you've never been to the Catacombs, go ahead and go. You'll have a great time. But if you have been at least once in the past 3-4 years, avoid it. It's not worth your time. Be better off going to Final Fear. Frightworld is okay, but I recommend Final Fear. So if you've been to Catacombs before, just avoid it. It sucks. I try and be fair here. It's not like Final Fear's paying me to tell people to go there or anything else like that or anything of that nature. Just Catacombs, they didn't change anything up. Even the houses that were all brand new were just either boring or just a change up of what existed. And the other thing was just boring and shitty. It was not good. And even if it's your first time, don't expect anything new and innovative like Final Fear. You can see where all the actors are coming from. They don't hide it very well, and they don't act very well either. It's just not good. You can probably imagine I'm going to rank the houses, but that's for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we'll hit you with a twofer. There'll be 2 videos. One will be an in-depth review of my experiences at Stripped Identity at Final Fear, the ultimate terror of the season, and I know it will deliver. After that, well, we'll hit you with the list, the best of the best, the worst of the worst. There's only 3 to go through, but well, you can probably imagine how it's going to turn out, but we got to do it anyways. We've been doing these reviews. It's only right. Well, that's all I had to say about that. So, fuck the Catacombs, man. That's that. My name is Kenshin. Oh, and of course, I do have to give them props. They do decorate the lobby very nice to make you feel like, put you in the setting. Frightworld used to do that, not anymore. Final Fear didn't, per se. Catacombs does that really well, but their houses are very lacking. Fuck the place, man. It's not worth it. Too expensive for everything. Not fun. Not original. Blech. Not even detailed like Frightworld is. Frightworld can at least claim to be insanely detailed. Not this. This is just basic level shit. And yet somehow it's considered to be more elite than Final Fear. Final Fear is just considered to be some smaller time thing than Catacombs. Catacombs gets more recognition, so they should be better, right? Well, not really. Go to Final Fear. That's your best bet. 2 videos coming up tomorrow. So, well, by the time you're watching this, I don't know when it'll be. Saturday night will be it. 2 videos coming your way Saturday night. Stripped Identity in-depth review and the naming of the best house of 2014. My name is Kenshin, and I'm peacing the fuck out. I'll see you guys later. Fuck, I hurt from standing in line so much.